Alright guys, so this is probably one of my favorite videos I have ever filmed. During this video, you're gonna see us hanging out with Everlast. Yeah, Everlast, House of Pain, Jump Around Everlast. As a lot of you may or may not know. But that's not his only hit, and that's not the only cool thing that he's involved in, or played a part in, or consumed, right? Everlast is probably one of the biggest Kaws collectors in the United States, if not the world. And he's just one of the biggest art collectors I've ever come across. He's got tons of wild stuff. We pick up over $700,000, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on it, but it's up there. About $700,000 or more in art that's gonna be available at Urban Necessities next week when we open May 28th here in Forum Shops at Caesar's Palace. And during this video, what you're gonna see is a bunch of stuff that he decided to sell and a bunch of stuff that he's like, there's no way I'm selling. So, as I'm here, the night before we fly out to SneakerCon, you guys get to watch this really cool video that is definitely worth watching and tons of great combo. And I hope you enjoy this one, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already for me. Guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. You know what? While we're talking about music, bro, your career. I mean, I've seen. I mean, you're one of the first rappers I started listening to, right? And it's crazy that one of your bigger tracks in the beginning is still getting burned to this day.
Oh yeah.
Right. But you started as a solo artist, right?
Yeah, with Rhyme Syndicate, Ice-T.
And Lethal and all those guys too, right?
Oh, Lethal was with me early. Like,
Okay.
he was young, like 15, but he was like this little criminal, like, kid, but he could DJ a little bit, but he was an amazing beatbox.
Right.
And I kind of felt like when I met him, like, I really dug on him. He had some talent, and if I didn't pull his kid out from where he was doing, he was going to the penitentiary forever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Nah, it's amazing, man. And it's like, over the years, you've also have really become like an artist. You're not just locked in into one genre, right? Like, you started, and your sound from when you started to now has seen 3 or 4 different transitions, and you've been like a part of some of the more well-known underground groups like La Coca. You did that, and it's just been really dope. As a fan, first and foremost, it's been really dope to see your growth, bro, and that you're still finding ways. And you did stuff with Santana too, right?
Yeah. Back like the huge Supernatural record.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think
man.
somewhere collecting dust amongst all the other shit here out there in the garage is like a 10 million plaque or something.
What got you into it? Like, what was like the motivation?
What, collecting?
No, I mean just everything, like
Music?
art, music.
Graffiti started it.
Okay.
My buddy, who's still my buddy and works here at the studio with me to this day, Divine Styler, when we were young, we had a mutual friend that introduced us, and I was just like a young, 15, 16-year-old kid. Graffiti was my life. I was just out to fucking bomb, and I was a part of a few of the early crews in LA. I was never fucking like a significant name of a graffiti, but I was like RTA was one, and L2S were some pretty well-known crews. So I was involved in that, and then this Divine Styler, when I met him, he was from New York, and he was like this Brooklyn cat that had this New York letter styles and shit that I just fucking wanted to end. Like, he was like, I basically back then, to be somebody's son wasn't like now it seems like when people, it's like some kind of disrespect. Back then it was like, nah, man, it was like you were apprenticing something, you know what I mean? And so I kind of like I got to know him and just wanted to learn all that, and he was doing the music at the same time, and he was already phenomenal at that and way ahead of everything that was going on. Like, Divine Styler was like jazz music at that time, you know what I mean? People didn't get it. He was on that hippie shit like people before, and nobody didn't do that before him. Nobody, and so like it was just an innovator, and like I was in it for the graffiti, but we'd be hanging out doing graffiti or something, or they'd be making beats at the house like for his demos, and when we were young, snapping was a big deal. Right. Well, I would like start putting my snaps into like rhymes because everybody's rapping and shit, and it just was, whatever, a little 40, a little weed, whatever. And they would be like, God damn, you can rhyme, man. You should. And basically, they had the connection with Ice-T and said, you should make a song. And I was actually supposed to partner up with this other dude, the dude who was our mutual friend, but he kind of chickened out at the last minute. No disrespect, I still love you, you know. But I just said, fuck it, I'll do it. And basically the first thing I ever wrote in my life was the record that wound up on the Ice-T compilation. It was called Syndication.
That's crazy.
And I wrote it Syndication because they told me we have an opportunity. This thing rhymes Syndicate.
Yeah.
You could rap. You should. And I was Syndicate. I was like, what, like Syndication? And then that just became a thought in my head. And he put together this James Brown beat and to keep on singing.
Yeah.
And I had and the catchy part that I think really caught everybody, besides the fact that I actually could rap, was I Buffalo Springfield song is in there where I'm stop. Hey, what's that sound? In fact, one of the funny stories I remember is when I first was kind of on in LA. It wasn't, it was independent days, and like I said, Brian Syndicate was independent stuff. But in the rap little scene, I was known as, and I got my first little juice ticket thing was a ticket and a pass to a Biz Markie show that I wanted to go to, where I had to backstage all that shit, not just because I was cool kind of thing, you know what I mean? So I got to go see the show. I was backstage, and I'm young, so I'm waiting, but I don't want to play myself, so I'm just waiting for my moment to kind of introduce myself to Bismarck, because I loved Bismarck at the time.
He's the man.
Still love him, but I'm saying I was enamored, oh shit, and I was kind of waiting for that moment because he's talking to everybody in the world, and finally the moment comes, and I'm about to fucking say something to him, and he kind of stops and goes, stop. Hey, what's that sound? And I fucking shat myself, dude. I was like, Bismarck, he knows who I am, man. I was like, this is incredible.
Nah, that's amazing.
And then he told me, your record's huge in New York.
That's right.
But then things kind of fell apart there, and, next thing was the next incarnation of House of Pain.
Nah, but that, obviously everybody's heard that, right? But where I think I really heard content from you that I was like, you know what, I have to delve deeper, was I think probably one of the most underrated as far as stories behind an album or storyline of an album was Prince Amongst Thieves. The track you did on that,
you shout out to Prince Paul, that's my dude.
Bro, the character that you took on that album, with everything that's going on in the world over the last 15 to 20 years, in a nutshell, you took that imagery and painted it so fucking vividly, it's crazy. And that was the first track that I was like, wait a minute,
the bad
bro.
lieutenant running up in your tenement, planting evidence on any black resident. Yeah, man, that's 20-something years ago, bro. I posted it not too long ago because, I was putting something up on my stories, social shit, hey, fuck this, fuck the police acting like this, whatever. If somebody says something okay, you're just into the whole... And I posted that shit next and was like, I've been doing this for 20 years, bro. I've been telling the truth for a long time.
Nah, it was amazing, bro. Because...
That was Paul, though. I wrote it, but Paul had a vision of what the thing was, and he was just be a dirty cop. And I'll be honest, I wrote a version of that was way less racist because there was a part of myself that was scared. I didn't want to.
Yeah, you didn't want to
be interpreted. I was but he helped me let go of that, and he was like, dude, fucking let go of that shit, dude. Be that fucker. And I was like, okay, all right. And I went back, rewrote that shit, and that was the version that wound up being on there.
It was amazing.
And I was proud. I was happy he did that because I was I was being hesitant for. I was being scary. It was no, you're a character right now, so be the fucking character.
I think that's one of the best parts of the whole story within that album.
Dude, one of my life goals is to get that thing put on Broadway.
What, that show?
It's one of my life goals. If there's somebody out here that knows how to help me and get at my man Paul and get that done, life goals. We need to get that done. Broadway hip-hop musical for real. That would be the real deal.
So, where along the journey?
There's a video for it, by the way, that's kind of like
it's
a chopped up version of every song on the album. It's the snippets of every song, and it's kind of like a mini movie.
That album was so...
Prince Among Thieves.
I don't want to, keep, hitting the fucking
everybody stepped up to their game.
But the whole concept behind that album, I think, changed the way people recognized. I could compose I could tell a real story. I could paint real imagery with words, and I love that album for that. I still listen to that religiously to this day. But
I just remember Paul laid it out kind of how if you're familiar with Larry David, where Larry David goes here's where the scene starts, here's where the scene ends. fill it in. Let's see what happens. That's kind of what he did. He knew where he wanted to start, and he knew he had his story points and the characters and who they were, kind of. But he let each guy come in and really become who that character was.
You know what's wild too is if you go back and you play that album, like, I mean, it's 20 plus years, but there's skits throughout it where he's got like literally everyone. When old boy shoots his boy, and then the boy that's not supposed to get the album gets the album, and he's blown up. Like DMX is shouting it out on the radio. Like who else was on that? It was like a couple of DJs,
Lord Sear,
everybody. Nah, it was dope to see Chris Rock was in that. Like,
because Paul's one of those dudes.
Yeah,
too.
he is.
Paul, he's. If you don't like Paul, I don't like you.
Yeah, that's more than fair. So, we're here today, kind of to show off some of the collection. Normally when I get called in and we come in, we're kind of like I don't want to say the exterminators, but we're kind of like the guys that come in. We shed like a little bit of light on some things that you have an appreciation for, but have recognized. I'm at a part where A, I'm hoarding, or B, I want to do some cool projects.
It's dumb.
I got some projects that I'm working on, or this and that, right? So when did the consumption...
I mean, what do you see? I mean, you're not going to turn the camera because it's a filthy mess, but like I see 10 guitars, I see fucking 4-footers, I see all the... I mean, it's ridiculous. That's what's happening.
I think one of the things that blew me away that we were talking about off camera is some of the stuff that you might not... You see it, but it doesn't like... Well, it calls out and you're like, well, wait a minute, is that... No, it's not. And that's that fucking, the gun that's a typewriter.
Yeah, Ravi Marzupa is the artist's name.
So talk to me a little bit about this piece.
I forget the name of it. It's something it's like in the theme of the pen is deadlier than the sword, or something like that with the gunplay. But he did a whole series of guns that are made from typewriter parts.
And then the bullets are actually quill pens.
Yeah, those were just I think either the gallery guy sent me those because I bought the two pieces. That painting's Ravi Marzupa too.
The one here in the middle?
Yeah, he made the quills. They're little bullets, but they're actually working quill pens.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. Let me see what other pieces are over here, and then I'll get you to... What gave you that, like, with this art? Because you've been collecting now pretty much since you started, right?
Yeah, we started to touch on it earlier. It used to be like home, like in the early internet days when eBay was just popping off, like Danny Boy from House of Pain actually was hip to a lot of this shit early, like the bounty hunter stuff and shit. But like when we went to Japan and stuff like that, I would see all this kind of cool shit and be like, man, no, it's so fucking awesome. Why isn't that? Right. Why can't I find that? So once eBay opened up, I would spend nights just scouring, looking for shit. But I think the first thing I ever bought isn't here. It's at my house, which maybe tomorrow we'll shoot at later or something. It was a figure called Mr. A, and it's a Michael Lau figure. And I just was walking through New York. I might have just left Supreme, like right, it was down in that neighborhood, and I was on Prince, and fucking walked by the original Kid Robot. And in the window was this weird looking character with a digital face and a crooked hat, like.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's ill. I like that shit. I want it on my desk, and I went in there and bought it. I was like, $100 for this little fucking thing, but I bought it anyways. I was like, this okay, whatever. And then again, I Googled his name and started all the shit that was coming up. All these at that time he hadn't done all he's done now. It was like Crazy Children Series 1 and a few other things he had done, a few other characters. So I got really into Michael Lau for a minute. And then once I got hip to the bounty hunter and somehow the Kaws, the original, that guy came up on my...
Us coming in here and seeing this and you're like, oh, like, don't mind this, don't mind that, I'm sorry for this, I'm sorry for that.
Well, it's just filthy.
No, but bro, it's not. It's like, you're giving insight into what's your inspiration while you're creating. Like this whole house is creating.
Yeah, this
right?
is the zone.
We talked about some stuff off the record, off camera, that we're not going to talk about all this, like how much has been created here and what's been created here, and to see like how this stuff is laid out and how it could technically talk to you or be the motivation behind something. I'm not nowhere near the same creator level as you, but I have those pieces too, or that room or whatever, where I go and like kind of like, you know, go down and then come up with that idea or that concept. So it's really dope for me to see, right? And I know a lot of the people that are gonna watch this video are gonna really be curious as to what you had in here, what you have in here, what you're keeping, what you want to keep, what you want to, you know, put forward, share at the shop. And it's gonna be really dope displaying some of these historic, like, bro, these are, it's like our history. It's like when we were in school and we were reading the history book, but this is like the history book for our culture, right?
Sure.
Like the street culture,
Yeah.
which is amazing. But you have global street culture in one fucking house or a couple of houses.
I just feel like, I don't know, as far as like beyond just the visual connection to art that I have, like where I just love, I like to be able to turn around anywhere in here at any moment, and wherever I'm looking, even if I'm not paying attention, my eyes are laying on something that could spark an idea,
Right.
or a thought,
Or a memory.
or even change the trajectory of the thought I'm having just a little bit, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just by what, it might not even be the content of the painting. I might look over there and see yellow in something, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, that's the color I need of what I'm doing, so to speak, in my head. I need more yellow, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But beyond that aspect of it, I've just always, you know, being a hungry artist dude at one time in my life, and being as fortunate as I've been to have written a few things that are gonna just, you know, feed me forever. Like, I like to patronize artists. Once artists become huge, you know, that's not that I don't fuck with them. It's like, yo, you're huge
good.
now, you're good. You know what I mean? And I'm probably good too if I've been fucking with you
Right.
for this time.
Right.
There's no reason. I'm to the point where it's like, I mean, I bought so much shit. I showed you fucking a Boba Fett that was still in the shipping
Oh, yeah,
box
that was-
from 2013. I had just, and it's
Dude,
sealed.
I'm
I
gonna-
buy shit like, cause I'm like, yeah, okay, like. At that time when I bought that, like there was a period in the middle there where it's like I had like 4 or 5 different connects on Kaws toys, straight out of Metacom. Kaws himself would send me stuff.
I want to show.
But then I had a bunch of toy dealers that would be like, "Do you want this? Do you want this?" And if you asked me if I wanted it, I just was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Yeah. Well,
Give
because
it to me.
the
I'll
other
buy
thing,
that,
the
you
other
know?
thing too is when you have someone that is looking out for you or is reaching out, like you never know when that fire stops, right? Like when the fire burns out, it's over. And one thing Mayor actually taught me was like, Jay, you never say no when you have brands or people that are in positions to provide something. Never say no, because you never know when they just stop, and you might want that and might not be able to justify the expense of what that want is, right? But I want to share with you guys what he was talking about with this Boba Fett. So I'm just gonna show the text. So he sends me, which it's still packaged FedEx label, right? Still on there, and then the video where it's still sealed. And how old is this box?
What,
2013.
2013? That's when, yeah, that's when Boba Fett came out.
So, me, you guys know how I am. The second I get something, I put it on or I open it, right? Family got.
But
to
I
a point-
have one open. Don't make it like this is the point of you're asking me what I'm getting rid of. Everything I don't need. You know what I'm saying?
But this is amazing. Like, think about unboxing 8 years later. Something that's now worth.
The tape was brittle. Didn't you hear it? It like,
No, this is amazing, man.
plus, when you were coming here, you know, that's the one you're taking. I'm like, fucking take the sealed one. I got one at home.
It's crazy.
This is the studio. Y'all don't even understand that I got all this at home. Filled up too, driving my wife crazy.
So most people that are in a Kaws or have been collecting Kaws have the little ones that, you know, sell out in an hour or less.
Oh, they all did back in the day. But you're talking about the open editions.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but you have a couple that are like my height. So what, these guys, how old are these? For those that might not know.
Man, when did they start coming out? There were 6 of them that came out over the span of a few years.
Right.
I want to say somewhere between 2004 and 2006. 96 or something the first one came out.
And there was roughly about 600 or so made, right?
Of each one, I believe there was 100.
100.
Yeah, but the original black one, I'm not even. There's all kinds of shit that are like There's one of them that I believe a portion of them were damaged, like 10 to 20.
Okay.
So that's I don't know that for fact, but it's the lore.
Right.
So that one may have less. That's the original black one, like that's not dissected. I had 8 at one point, but I never had the whole set. Was the bitch. Like I had 2.
You had 2 of
dissected, and
yeah.
I had 2 original black ones. The only one I was missing the gray dissected forever, and I could never get it. The reason I had the other ones in doubles is because like I'll be able to trade one of these one day to somebody for a gray one and complete the set, and then people just never were cooperative.
Now I've talked to a couple of people about these over the years, and the story that some have told me is that when these first came out, they kind of sat, right? Like they didn't like instantly sell out because it was on
the first
fire.
one might have, because I remember people being like $2,000. It was $2,500, I think, for it, possibly. I think it started at $2,500, and I think by the time we got to the last one, it was like $4,500.
Okay.
Possibly. I could be off by a few bucks. It could be, 5,000 on the last one. But I know the first one was in the 2000, and even I was like, whoa, that's a lot of bread for a fucking, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you also got to
But I was like, when I saw the picture of it, bro, I was like, I'm owning that shit.
You got to think that's 15.
That one's still in the hall.
Right, and I see it. You got to think inflation. We're talking 15 years, right? So 2,500 is more like closer to 10 grand now than 2,500. So yeah, it was a hefty expense, especially for something that at that time there was no way to really track, and there was really no art market or like apps that
I just think people thought it wasn't gonna happen. Right. And when the first batch did finally sell out, and when they say sat at Kaws means you could get them for that day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't think that was up for very long.
Right.
At that time, I'll be honest, the first one like I dealt with him directly. He didn't give it to me by any means, but like I bought directly from him, and I think the first couple I did. And then he would just give me links after that to the website.
No, that's amazing.
But,
and now we're looking at them 15, 16 years later, and they go for 150 to 200K, depending on which one you have.
they're college educations now,
Yeah.
Tom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's amazing, man. That
it's a whole lot of crypto. I don't know, something. It might be just more art.
Yeah.
It might be just more art. Maybe I'm into canvases and shit, and
what artists?
And I'm gonna let you, and I'm kind of into sculptures, but I want to get into some different shit. I've enjoyed these for fucking 15 years, man, and I'm not quite getting rid of all of them.
Right.
So it's just like I just gotta fucking.
What artists right now are like catching your eye as far as canvases that you want to like dabble in?
I don't know if you call it canvas, like Invader.
Or art.
I love Space Invader stuff, and I don't really have any pieces by him. I have a bunch of stuff by my boy Tristan Eaton, but I'm heavy. Like I'm going heavy on him for his future. I think he's got a lot of fucking potential. He's already doing extremely well. But like I think like
yeah, you were mentioning that he
he invented the dunny. Like he's the guy. But like the shit he's done on Google. I'll send you some links. But he's an amazing painter. I'm shocked I don't have any. He's done most of my album artwork for the last. This is Tristan Eaton. Duh, it's right here.
This is wild, bro.
This is actually getting ready. He's picking this up for a museum show he's doing.
So.
But I got to know him because of the Dunnies. Like I met him at a Comic-Con before. I used to go to Comic-Con before it was crazy. Before I remember one day I would go to Comic. You saw the Futura guys in there, right? The year those came out, I was at Comic-Con, and Comic-Con wasn't like it is now.
Right.
It was nerd fest, pretty quiet.
Right.
There was a lot of people, but it wasn't out of control.
Yeah, it wasn't gentrified.
So
that it is
I
now.
knew Future was dropping these toys, and I know Lenny, you know what I mean? But I was like, I've never been that dude that calls you up and asks for free shit or anything. And I was like, I knew I was going to Comic-Con anyways, because there was a bunch of toys dropping, and you see how I was doing it.
Yeah.
So I was like, by that time I was full-fledged junkie for the vinyl and all that shit. So I was like there, and it was one of the few places I could ever go and just be a pure fan of some shit. Right. You know what I mean? So like I'm in line to get the fucking Nosferatus, and fucking she's just signing some shit, and he looks up and he's signing some. He looks up and he signs. It's like, why are you in line? And I really am just like he's now I'm fucking embarrassed as fuck, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, why the fuck you just don't walk up and say hello? What's up? He's like, what's up? So I'm laughing. I'm like, yo, dude, it's just I'm being a fan. You know, I literally was like,
how long do you think you were in that line?
Oh, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't a long line. So I mean, the line when I was in it was maybe 30 or 40 people, and I was somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it wasn't too bad. Maybe like a 10, 15
And you gotta understand, it was so nerdy.
Right.
I was famous, and they didn't know who I was because
amazing.
I wasn't famous for any of the shit that they cared about. Right. You know what I mean? So I was like, had a freedom there. That's why I was like, I'm just being a fan, dude.
Which is probably rare at that time for you.
Oh yeah, it was fun. That's why I liked it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just being a fan. Shh.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. I could definitely.
Because the minute I left that table, now you got the Future guys going like, well, who is he? That Future like called him out. Like, who is this guy? And now all of a sudden, they know who
people
you are.
People are putting
and it starts,
2 and 2 together.
Didn't get crazy. Don't get me wrong, but now all of a sudden you're like, oh, hey, you're there. Oh, okay, yeah, that's me.
No, that's sick, man.
I've always liked my music is more famous than my face. I really do. I can be in the supermarket, like checking out, buying olives and shit, and motherfucking jump around's on, and motherfuckers have no fucking clue. None.
Can you imagine?
Amazing.
Like you're like
what it's like playing at the fucking Gap, and I'm getting. Yeah, large.
Royalty.
Large, yeah, give me a large. Thanks.
No, that's amazing, man. You know, it's funny you bring up Gap. That's actually our new store was a Gap.
I know. I can't wait to see the place, man. The pictures look amazing.
No, hopefully you can make it out to the event that we're gonna have.
I'm feeling good about it, so.
I think it's gonna be really the first place that becomes like a museum for literally everything street, right? In a cleaned up, like presentable way that all walks of life can feel comfortable about walking in this place and educating themselves. Because when we start, I think we got like almost 4,700 different variants of shoes. We have I think maybe close to 20,000 pairs.
The wall is crazy.
No, yeah, it's 12 shelves and like half a mile long. It's gonna be unique, man. But I'm excited. You know, we've invited a lot of people we look up to, respect, have made $1 with, trying to make $1 with, and it's gonna be fun.
That was I think end of '89, beginning of '90 was the first Everlast album with Ice-T, and I mean that maybe sold 100,000 records back then, but
All right, so there's one of the first albums that's on iTunes right now, and I hate to just say, oh, it's only on iTunes, but like one of your oldest albums there, like the whole vibe of that was like Third Bass-esque, like CNC Music Factory-esque.
It was. I got signed after the Ice-T compilation record,
right?
And that was just the kind of rap that I wanted to do, right?
Right.
And so basically now I get signed to an album deal, and I don't just get signed to an album deal. Like Ice-T had a Rhyme Syndicate Records.
Right.
I got picked up on the Warner Brothers because the original Rhyme Syndicate compilation and Ice-T's deal were on Warner Brothers.
Right.
I actually got picked up by Warner Brothers. So like now I'm the only white guy rapping in the black music department, and they were great, most of them. There was the head guy, I won't say his name, but everybody in that department treated me great. But it was like, I had no idea what I wanted to do for an album, and there was no, and the guy that was producing me at the time was like, just trying to make hit records. And at the time I remember, there's like half that album is records I wanted to make.
Right.
And I won't say anybody forced me to make records either. The other half are records. People were like, we should do a record like this because like the single they put out was called "I Got the Knack," and it was like my Sharona. The reason is, if you check that exact timeline, Tone Loc is out with Wild Thing right there with the
So they knew what they
wanted that kind of song.
Right.
Oh, you should do like a love kind of song. Okay, so half the album I kind of had to deliver, and at the time I didn't mind because I was 18 years old and they were giving me a bunch of money.
Right.
You know what I mean? What I thought was a bunch of money at the time. You know what I mean?
But then you go from that, and then like you're recategorizing yourself, and then putting out content under the Everlast moniker, but also like a couple years later you're busting out stuff as Whitey Ford. Then a couple years later, like you go from that late 80s, early 90s vibe to like now you got guitars and like almost every track that you bust out on like 1 or 2 albums, and then you do the Prince Among Thieves stuff and it's like a whole different sound. Like dude, over the course of 30 plus, you have constantly shown your range in the shit, and it's like wild, bro, because most of the guys that started in that time stamp of music, they were stuck in that one and never evolved, and you've just been evolving over and over. What do you think helped you stay
the greatest thing that ever fucking happened to me, and still to this day, was Jump Around. It was also, for a little while, one of the worst things that ever happened to me.
Right.
The reason it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me is because when a song like that happens for you, and you could just look at the history of people who've had hit songs. There's three ways three things that can happen. You either chase that for the rest of your life to do that again, right? Or you disappear and you're a one-hit fucking person, or you understand that thing casts such a shadow that your only choice is to run the opposite direction. Like if you look at the second House of Pain album, it's dark. The beats are dark. I mean, like it's the tones. There's no happy. We were, and also Cypress kind of really had the bluesy high pitched things going on, and Jump Around was something that just kind of wound up on our record. But like, I felt like we wanted to separate ourselves from that too. Like we're a crew, but we don't want to be accused of being like you guys are. So that second album went really dark, and I think it's a great fucking album. But there was no Jump Around on it, and but once I realized that's never gonna happen again, and once House of Pain ran its due course, because the third album is even more different than the first. The third album brings my man Divine Styler in, and my homeboy Cockney O'Dyer, who's the dude who does all the Jamaican, patois and chant and stuff, and it was becoming this killer rhyme clique before it was gonna evolve, and then it kind of fell apart, and that's when the next stage would begin. But like I said, when that ended, there was a period where I didn't know what I was gonna do next, but I understood that I was starting to understand because time was going by, and I was seeing how Jump Around was still performing. It wasn't fading. It was sticking around. Like I was like, okay, and I think I understood. Well, okay, worst case scenario. There was a movie with Hugh Grant where he was like the son of a dude whose dad wrote his dad wrote some hit song, and basically he didn't do shit with his life but live off that fucking song. And I was like, well, worst case fucking scenario, I'm that guy. Okay, that's not what I want to be. That's not something I aspire to be. But worst case, so relax a little bit. Your success is. I looked at success differently. Like being on top and jet planes and all that weren't the most important thing to me. It was like I've done some cool shit. It's almost like a DJ Khaled moment, like where it's like I'm just like looking back and be like, okay, I never played myself, and I did good shit. That's really all I could ask. So once I started thinking like that, it freed me up to do different shit. And I grew up on such a wide array of music, and digging for hip hop, so much shit is you're hearing all day. 15 different types of music, from classical to fucking polka. Right. You're looking for like a piece. You're not looking for the whole record. You're looking for a piece.
That loop.
That's so. In my head, things just started becoming like I compare it to like a DJ mixing, blending records, but it was happening in my head like this. What would happen if I did this style and this with this? And that was just in my head until one day, like after I quit the House of Pain record, I was depressed and kind of down. And one of my buddies from New York, Dante Ross, legendary A&R and producer, called me and was like, "What's up? What you doing? Just to shoot the shit?" And he was like, "You sound down, dude. What's up? You making a record?" And I was like, "Nah, man." It was after I quit. Like, I wasn't making any music yet. And I was like, "Nah, man. I don't even know if I want to make music anymore." He's like, "Dude, fuck all that, dude." He's like, "Get on a plane. Get on a plane. Come sleep on the couch. We'll fucking just
figure it out.
Fuck a record. We're not talking a record. Just come make music, dude." I was like, "Fuck it. I need to get out here." Anyways, I went to New York. Slept on his couch for a few months. We were making a rap record. If you listen to Whitey Ford Sings the Blues, there's like 5 or 6 straight just rap songs on there. Those are the first records we made. We were just making a rap record, but he had a guitar in his apartment, and I would strum on it at nights. And I kind of had the first beginnings of what it's like was, but I started putting the lyrics together one night, fucking around high, no intention like of it being a part of that record, and Dante comes bursting out into the living room of his like, "What the fuck is that?" And I was like, "It's this song I fuck around with that just kind of relaxes me, it's nothing for I was like, he's like, "No, fuck that, we're recording that tomorrow." And I was like, well, I guess I better finish it. And I just started writing and I finished it. And
no, that was a great album.
We
though.
cut the record, and I'd like to say the rest is history, but we were told we were gonna, like, the record company was not happy. They were like, "What are you, a rapper, a singer?" They were like, "Yo," even though honestly, Wyclef had done something similar just before, like, YD4 came out, was when the Carnival came out.
Right.
Like, it was kind of like, I didn't know that when I was making mine, but like he was ahead of me a little bit with the like guitar and the like hip hop. We were drawing on different backgrounds of music, but it was kind of the same formula in a weird way. You know what I mean? So, but my label was just, and
Well, yeah, it was so different. That's what I think, like, kept people interested. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? This isn't what I'm used to hearing, right? And it's like I said, man, but you've done that like 4 or 5 times since.
Like, I have 10 pairs of breads, right? Ones. I still wear my 2000s because the more you beat them up, but the more you beat them up, the better they look, man. Yeah. That's the only sneaker out of all these threes. Everybody could say they're the greatest shoe ever, and I think design-wise, I look at that shoe and I'm like, that's a fucking race car, dude. That shit is awesome. But ones are the most durable fucking shit ever. How much story? I just bought this from a gallery, but it's a 2001, I think. Yeah, 2001. It's just a hand painted. 5 sides of it are painted with the Chum graphics. I think there was only like 4 or 5 of these he did. Period. Like, so. Yeah, the Woolsey Fire is what it was called. It was 2 years ago. It was the big one. That was that one. It was the one that was devastated. I think there was another one just a little later, but it was the big one. The Malibu, all the shit. I live kind of the other side of the Malibu Hills, basically.
So I can't even imagine. You're not only losing all these things that you've invested all this time, energy, and effort, but all the family mementos and all the.
We lost more of that than I lost of collectibles. Is the sad part. Like pictures of my mom. Like my wife was devastated.
Stuff that you can't replace.
Yeah, that's the stuff that still gets her when she, like. For me, I lost a few pieces. I lost a few pieces of art and whatnot, and mostly because there was stuff in my garage. The way that happened for us is like an ember caught our house. It was a lot of crazy shit happened, but long story short is they didn't evacuate my wife and kids. Like they just drove down the block and set it on the radio. Now, long story short is my kid has a disorder called cystic fibrosis. Right. She has a feeding tube at night. So basically, until that thing beeps, if I was on tour, so my wife was doing everything all day, so she's exhausted. So she wasn't gonna hear some little radio outside. Nobody night banged on the door or nothing. We checked the footage. So basically, what happened was she woke up to when the tube was finally done. Walked downstairs at our front window. She saw it was just glowing red. There's a mountain across from us, right? So she opens the door and says it's basically hell. Like the mountain's on fire, the entire mountain. So she's like freaking out. Oh shit! She's getting the kids together and all this. And while she's getting the kids and the dogs and everything together to get them out of there, she sees a glowing thing in the corner of our garage. And she's like, oh my God. And just so happens a fucking fire truck had just driven by checking the neighborhood out. She takes off running and catches this truck like 2 blocks down the way, tells them,
turn back around.
Our house is catching fire right now. You can save it. So basically, they come back and they fight it. The whole garage by this time is in flames. Yeah. And the house is destroyed, but some of the contents weren't. They were just smoke damaged and shit. I was lucky on some of those fronts, materialistically speaking. Everything that was sentimental and fucking pictures. We'd only been in the house 6 months, so we hadn't really even gotten every little trinket and everything out. You know what I mean? And it was a much smaller house than we had been living in before because we were just kind of moving up closer to the LA scene for a while to get into some other stuff. So, like, I mean, honestly, I get a call the night. It's like I get a picture from my wife. I recall at the fire's across the street. Oh shit, we'll get out of there. Okay. Next communication I get is a picture of my garage in flames. I'm on tour in New York. I'm like literally like I don't tell it's like 2 a.m. in New York. I just get in a cab and I head to the airport and I had to book to get to LA the fastest. I had to book like a fucking connecting 3 flight, no fucking, you know, I'm not trying to get for me, but like shitty middle seat coaches every fucking place, thinking my entire life is burning. I'm in middle seats, the coach like flying like this, 3 different flights. It was horrible.
No, the anxiety you must have had. I mean, cause look, if it's just
like
a direct,
all the shit I just showed you.
Yeah, if it's a direct flight, that's 5 hours, right? So
no, it took me the better part of 14
a day.
hours.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. A direct flight's 5 hours from New York to LA. So you probably had to do
Poughkeepsie, New York, or something. I had
so
a little plane it to a bigger plane to the big plane.
And then you're leaving your hotel 2 in the morning. You're probably not getting to the airport till 3 in the morning. You're probably not on your first plane till like 4:35 in the morning, and it's a 14-hour trek back with your thoughts. Like, nah, man. I can't even.
There was some fate to it though, because on the third flight flying to the LA, I managed to get like that fake little bit more.
The lay-down joints? Oh,
the coach that's a little bit bigger. So it was like, oh, it felt luxurious after 2 little shit flights, right? And like I'm just like in the thing, and like I probably look like I'm about to cry, like, you know what I mean? And the guy next to me is like, "You good, man? You everything all right?" And I was like, "Oh man, no man, fuck up, my house is on fire." And he was like, "Oh, that's crazy, man." He's like, "I'm an insurance adjuster. I'm flying out there because my company is gonna need extra hands and shit like that." And he was like, I was like, "Man, yeah, I don't even know I don't know if my house is there. I don't know anything yet. I'm flying home." I found out last night. I showed him the picture of my garage. He was like, "Oh shit!" Like I was like, so, but that guy told me something that was later reinforced by my accountants. But he was like, "Make sure, no matter how good your insurance is, hire your own adjuster, an independent adjuster," which is totally legal. I didn't know that. Like, you can hire independent dudes who come in and are basically, even though the insurance guy's, his job is cut the smallest check possible for his company, this guy's there to get you the big, and they get a little piece, but they usually get you way more, so that little piece doesn't play in. Which was the best advice I ever got, because that's why all my art is being restored, and like a lot of it was smoked out, stunk, and you know, fucking had all the paint up, had to be reframed, repapered, and which, I mean, I had like, you know, 150 paintings in my house of various sizes. Some are little, some are big, but like, you know, I bought my house even though it's small because it had a lot of wall space. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I could, and literally, I'm saying I would hang shit. Like, you kind of see how this is. Yeah. This is sloppily done. At my home, it's tight, and it's like you don't even see walls almost. Like, you won't be able to see that, unfortunately. Another time you'll come back and hang out, barbecue it. You'll see the art out there. But yeah. So what it also did was like after I got home and I saw what I lost, but I saw what was spared. And I was grateful, it started a process. Remember, this is 2 years ago now, when it burned, and we moved back in about 8 months ago, and it just started this whole process of just kind of disconnecting from them. I have too much shit to worry about. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, and I have multitudes of it. Like I can get rid of like 2/3 of my shit and have all the shit I still love and want. Right. So it's time for that to happen. And just something, I saw you several times with people I either knew or knew of and had, you know, that you were dealing Mayor, I don't know, but I saw, you know, if he's letting you handle his collection. I know Fat Joe, but, you know, Bun is a good friend of mine. And when I saw you guys talking about something and I knew you were the guy from this other stuff, I was just like, yo, if I see this big thing he's doing, I wonder. And then I hit you with the message, because Bum was like, "No, he's the dude to do that. You should probably holler at him." 2Js, what up, y'all? Come on in. Welcome to my humble home. We're still settling in. This was a gallery. You couldn't even see a wall in here before the fire, and it'll be back that way. My stuff's all being restored, and you know, this is some of the stuff I still had, like,
that would made it, yeah, that
didn't get damaged and destroyed.
So he was saying these Soriyamas, which are the Kaws joints, are like from early 2000s, and retail was like 1,500, and they're like 40, 50K now.
1,500, $2,000. I could be off a little bit. It's around that. I did these myself. Yeah, I did them myself. They came out all right, man.
How did you go about distressing them?
I have a little Dremel and a little sandpaper thing on there, and I would just and fucking hit it, and then I washed it a couple times.
You wash the shoe itself?
Uh-huh.
You should bleach them out a little bit.
You know what? It's like I figured you could always do that after the fact, even. You know what I mean? Like you could add a little bit. There's some.
You gotta get the matching denim jacket and pants, and then have the full blown Canadian tux.
No, I can't, dude. You know what's funny? I talk about this all the time. Whenever something like that comes up, not Canadian tuxedos, but I've never been the matching sweatsuit dude. Yeah? I can't get down like that, man. It just doesn't work for me.
It's hard. It's hard. You got to be really.
I see some cats and I'm like, that shit looks right, but like I put on a matching sweatsuit, I look like a fucking imbecile. It's fucking. I look like a fucking gym teacher, like, and not in a good way at all.
Sitting here, man. I'm really trying to process
that I'm a fucking no life having nerd that all he does is hunt this shit down.
This is like I'm really lost for words. This is amazing, bro. Because it's like so many different genres.
This is kind of a favorite pair of mine. These are kind of cool. I really dig these. I haven't worn them yet, obviously. Damn, bags and shit. Got PSNY.
Oh yeah, the quality on these is really good.
I gotta shape them a little bit when I wear them, but I just really dig those, man. Something about these layers and shit.
Yeah, the invertedness of it is pretty dope.
I like the deconstruction shit people that can, Virgil and all these cats have done. It's cool. I got all that shit back here, all that off-white Prestos and the tan. You into this dude?
That's the lightning bolt joint, right?
I'm kind of digging these, dude.
A lot of people, I've seen a couple of people come in.
The quality's pretty fucking good, man. I'm digging on them.
I've seen a couple people come in, and I think COVID more than anything really obligated a lot of creators to find different ways to make it their own, right? And like people have really figured out a way to really start their own brands with sneakers. And it's kind of dope. The padding on this is nuts, right?
I'm gonna show you a mosh something in a second, though, that'll blow your mind. All right, but these are his regular. These are fucking dumb comfortable, like shorts in the summer. These are retarded, dude.
It's just to send it to the home.
Oh, that's my dude. We rap all the time. You'll even trip when you see what I'm about to show you. But yeah, mosh gang. I'm in it. There we go. I'm into independent dudes. There's a dude up in the Bay, Saya, I'm into. This is all sneakerheads know this game, right? Press up against the wall so the shoe don't fall down and you let it slide, nice and gentle. All right, mosh, right?
Sick.
Watch. All right, so this is what he sent me. It's a emulation of the campus House of Pain we did in what they call this an Aniki. The little logo.
Wow, bro.
Yeah, he killed it. Like these just showed up one day too. By the way, like before I even really knew him, we had just exchanged some messages on the gram, and we still really only know each other over the internet, kind of texting and shit like that. But he just showed up one day. Like I was like, what the fuck? These are incredible. General release was 4. They released the silver,
green,
the green, and the black, and the glow in the dark. This guy is from a toy con in Singapore. I think this was the first one to come out, but it's stupid limited.
How did you get that one? Cause were you in Singapore?
Just at that time, it was that, like I said, when I was first hunting all this, I started connecting with like a bunch of cats out of Japan that were sellers and shit. When I would buy shit off eBay, you'd make a few transactions with a guy on eBay. You usually start connecting off the line so that he saves his fees and he'll give you a break, and what you'll talk about. And I got to know some of these guys, but it's like, there would be things like between the two big things I was into early was Kaws and Michael Lau, and this is all Michael Lau right here. Like, and there was a time when cats were waiting in line. I don't know if they still do because I don't pay that much attention, but like this was like cats in Japan would wait in line for these drops, and like I had guys that would always get them and being like, well, I'm gonna have this and that and this and that, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I want to buy that and that and that. So I just started developing relationships. So that's how I got the Singapore one. This is Puss had hand painted 11 of them.
What year was that?
I don't know. Was that I think this was at Comic-Con. He like dropped them at Comic-Con, and it was right whenever the release was, like same time span because it was still new. But it's hard to get anything original from Pusshead. Even like his print. I saw all those things at the studio. Those are prints. They're just. He doesn't. You got to really be in with him or somebody to get like an original. And all of his originals are pretty much the same size. Like that big huge print on his is like a rare thing because it's so big and it's, there's not a lot of Pusshead stuff that's that big. But like getting a hand painted something from him was just I couldn't.
Oh, it's unreal.
I couldn't.
Like,
I pulled all the triggers to get
like,
this guy. Like I had like 5 guys at that Comic-Con.
You're a Dodgers fan, right?
Yeah.
So that's.
I'm a Yankee fan.
Okay, so let me correct
But I'm
myself.
an LA transplant, and it's the National League, so I will rock with the Dodgers out here.
So that's like Fernando Valenzuela, like pitching a game, taking his glove off and saying, "Here you go," or Oral Hershiser.
Well, kind of as far as rarity is concerned, it's not. He didn't hand it to me himself. Like I said, I had like 5 guys there. I was like, whoever cops it, I'll give you double what you pay for it.
Right.
And that's how I did the 2Js on them, dude. I just came in and 2Js them motherfuckers all around them motherfuckers. I used to 2Js the Comic-Con all the time, dude.
So you would walk up and just take a whole table if needed.
If it was shit I wanted, I'd buy. If I could buy, like a lot of times they wouldn't let you buy more than one toy. You know what I mean? But if they said you could buy as many as you wanted and it was something I wanted, like the Nosferatus when it was Lenny. I mean, even though he was my man, I waited in line and he tripped out on that. Like this, back in those days, we were talking about before.
Yeah.
This is something I was always able to be a fan of.
And
like,
be yourself.
Before Comic-Con exploded, I could go there even with a hit record, and the nerds didn't care about me. I was just another nerd. You know what I mean? And fucking, because I wouldn't jewel up or, I just had some sneakers and fucking go around with my head down, knowing what booths and what time I wanted to be at those booths. Like, I was nerding out. Like, that's what I did. That's what I did for fun. It was that, or I played SOCOM 2 and SOCOM 3 with the squad. Like,
amazing.
Snoop and Fred Wreck and all these cats. We used to, like, spend days doing that shit,
amazing.
So,
Talk to me about these apples, man, because they're like
these. I want to pronounce his name right. You saw the bear with the brain bear at the studio.
Yes.
Emilio, I want to say Garcia. It's called Forbidden Fruit. He does all this brain stuff. He did some Chanel brain grenades and like fucking they're worth a ton now. But yeah, I saw he released these. They're beautiful.
No, that's like
it's fucking
it's
gorgeous,
unreal.
Dude. It's gorgeous. It's I'd love it. It's fucking amazing.
You're gonna have me looking for these now, man.
I'll send you a tag of his Instagram.
And they're numbered. There's only 30 of these.
Yeah. These cost a few dollars, but
Forbidden Fruit.
Yeah, and I got the green and red. He did a few different colors, but I couldn't cop them all. I was trying to be more frugal with my older age. I'm trying to save a few little cash for the college funds. Even though I'd flip all this and send 8 kids to college. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you could probably send a whole neighborhood to college with this room. Dude, there's so many. I mean, just in this like little 10-foot shelf, the amount of stuff that you have that I know I've never seen, that I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have never seen. Like, I've never seen Tweety Bird Kaws. I've never seen that.
There's a black in it.
Yeah. What year was that?
That was not too. That was like in the later right before he kind of stopped doing the limited toys. Before the open editions, it was probably is there years on them? I don't even know. I don't pay attention anymore.
2010.
Yeah, there you go, 2010.
So that's 11 years old. That explains it, because I've only really been doing this stuff for 8 years. So.
Well, these are cool because if you look over here, see how they're holding heads?
Yeah.
Right.
The head is
inside there. You had to have no vinyl and no tricks. And what you had to do is a hairdryer, heat it up a little bit carefully, not too close. You don't want to melt it. Get it soft, and you could pop this open, get the head out, and pop it back together. So you did. But I did too, and I left the others. And this one, here's one we should have shown this to your boy because he probably would have took a shit. But this is amazing right here. This is back when I used to go see him all the time. I don't get to we don't see each other very much now, but like fucking just little hand embellished with got the head in there. I think this is glow in the dark too. Idea was Danny Boy and him together.
You know what's been really dope? The one tie to I've gone to Mayor's house. I went to Vandal OG, Vandelay's house, Dion's house, from Concepts, Joe's house, now your house, your studio. Every single one of you guys has some sort of tribute or something tying to these guys. Like
they're I mean, like, if you're rock and roll, they're Jimi Hendrix. If
Right.
you're if you're if you're like, R&B or funk musician, they're Parliament. You know what I mean? They're the beginning and end. I was a rock and roll fucking kid until I heard Run DMC, man.
Yeah.
And I had heard Rapper's Delight and shit. I thought it was cool, but it didn't make me fucking go hunt shit down and change my life. I heard rock boxing, my life changed. Like, Led Zeppelin and Ozzy Osbourne were just a little less cool.
Right.
Like, all of a sudden. And these dudes with leather jackets and rapping over fucking hard rock shit, I was like, oh, the fucking world has changed, man. It's over.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I was maybe 14, 15. And then it just was like,
Yeah, it was
off
all
to the
about
races.
this. Yeah.
like,
Yo, so the DMCs look like they're on fucking. The DMCs are about $200 a piece. Oh wow, bro! Wow.
it's my gift to you.
Nah, man.
It's for you, bro. We're gonna make money, bro. Remember what I said about those, though, bro? That arm, these are so fucking delicate, bro. The Nosferatus. I don't even know which one this is. I don't know what color it is. Does it say on it anyway? Might be just that, the gray guy. I got a bunch of them, so might even have another sealed one or two around here.
Sick.
Oh, it's just
Damn,
this me
bro.
graffitiing on. Oh no, wait.
That's for
No,
sure,
that's from
bro.
Comic-Con. That when I told you I went and fanned out on shit. This is the one I graffitied. This is the one I made. I made that.
Nah, this is hard as hell, bro.
I had no idea that was in here. That's going home.
Ventura
That's
signed
going
this
home.
one.
No, all those are actually the signer things of the guy of Toy Guys. This is Scene.
Oh shit.
Mad L, the guy who makes those figures. Scene hit it twice because Hug G.
So you just bought
Scat.
these? You just brought these trains and was like, "Yo, sign
I think
this."
they were selling the trains, their blanks, and I bought one. And just every that's Tristan back in the day. His little hit, Fuchs is probably most prominent on there. But
You
this
gotta
is-
post these, bro. You should take
put that
those
out
home.
there. Yeah, I'm gonna take both of these home. This whole box right here. Oh,
Jay
since
Strong.
I got doubles of these, what do you think these are hitting for? Got both of them. All right. Let's take the box out there and we'll go through it.
Here's a funny
Family's
scenario.
good, healthy,
so I'm here with
everything, man.
Everlast
Dude,
at his
just,
storage, right? And
busy
I
making
see
a
this
Christmas
fancy
record
little
right
truck
now.
pull up, and I'm noticing the guy staring.
dude.
He starts walking over. It's fucking AJ.
I know.
AJ
I
from
gotta
the
get out.
Backstreet
Once
Boys.
we're done next week, I'll be free. So I'm definitely gonna come.
Who's been shopping with us, by the way, for almost 7 years? And if you scroll far enough on
Dude, it's so good.
on our Instagram, you can find him actually winning
Oh, there's more.
on my heat locker.
It's even
which
better
my man
if-
played the
if-
heat
if
locker
you
for
can
like
imagine.
2 hours till he won. This shit's crazy. I haven't seen him in forever. For 2 days, I've been catching shit about being a Mets fan from a Yankee fan that's wearing Dodger shit and hasn't
National
won.
League,
See?
American
See?
League. Two different things.
So now
Hey, hey, by the way, Dodgers have more World Series rings than the fucking Mets too.
just
And I'm wearing my hat because it's Yoke City, my homie that makes the hats, and he made the shorts, and it's got the Nipsey Hussle shit on it and the Kobe shit.
Tell your boy.
Get off my dick.
Tell your boy. It's kind of, you can't
funny
really.
thing is
How do I
I don't
fucking
care
clap
about
back
this
here?
shit.
How do I clap back here without like being told? You know what? Take
Dude,
everything,
wait,
take
first
everything
off,
off of the
wait,
truck.
point the fucking camera here real quick. I know this is 2J's shit and it's all his people and shit, but this fucker's been talking shit for 2 days, and I finally today started giving him some shit back, and look how he's getting. He's getting all hurt butter. Now he doesn't. Now he wants to take to his people and get me in the comments all fired up.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
My man's been trying to start me
I
up
need
for
you-
2 days.
I need y'all in the comments because the more comments, the more views I get. So thank you, my
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, I hope everybody, this is a good dude. For real, I've been fucking around him for a couple days, but beyond the interaction before that, this is a guy who got me to part with some shit nobody else could get me to part with, really.
You know, and some shit I wanted to get rid of, some shit I was like, for 2 J's, okay, I'll do that shit. So, solid.
So by the time
I'm exhausted.
So by the time you're done watching this video, we're probably gonna be moving and opening at Caesar's Palace, and a lot of the items that Ev's decided to let go are gonna be at Urban Necessities. A lot of history. We unearthed a lot of amazing pieces that we're gonna be really excited about showcasing. We can't wait to see who buys what, where it goes, how you repost it, and share it with the world, man. Now these pieces get like a new sense of life, right? Because a lot of this stuff was tucked in a closet or a storage unit or in rooms that weren't really seeing even much light, and now they're gonna be shared with the world, and it's a beautiful thing, man.
And I've kept enough that I'm fine, but it's still, I'm hurt. I'll cry later. I'll cry later. I'll be like, oh, what did they do?